So my first fear for today is being sorted. You're here. That's that moment of wake up in the morning going, do people turn up? And you're here. So thank you very much for making the journey. See, Kat, you've travelled a long way. Yeah. So I'm due to talk for about 15 minutes. I have a feeling I might ramble on a little more with a few things to get through. But really I just want to introduce you to the day and talk a bit about GRM, because somehow we managed to get to being 20 years old, which means I'm 20 years older, which is horrible, but we have to move on from that one. So pretty much reiterating Oliver's point, which is the aims of OED are to enjoy it. Go and look at the exhibition areas, network, meet people. It's quite nice. I'm looking at the audience and there are people in the audience I don't know. I haven't met. Oliver's gone and met people and been doing work and I don't know. And there's faces who haven't seen for years and been working recently as well. So that's fantastic to see. Celebrate 20 years. Please eat lots of cake, because I have a real problem with cake that I eat it, a lot of it, all the time. So if there's plenty left over, I will be eating it. So make sure you have some. And again, as Oliver said, meet new people. I'm going to be doing that today, which is fantastic. Learn hopefully something new about engineering. We've got a nice spread of presentations, I think. I believe they are today in different industries, different topics. So things that we can all learn about. And then the last bit is to learn something about GRM that you didn't know yesterday. So this is where my presentation goes a little bit, because I realised when we host these events, the last one was 5 years ago here, and it doesn't seem that long ago, and yet it does seem an age ago. It's kind of strange. But yes, when we hosted it, we really realised that a lot of people that attend are either one of our software customers, and they have no idea what we do in engineering services. And then other customers do engineering services and have no idea we sell software. So it's nice to just spread that a little bit and inform a bit more. So just a look through GRM in 2023. So we'll start off with Oliver's side of things. We have a little bit Oliver and Martin's side of the business activities. And whilst they do cross over a fair bit, I think it's a credit to Oliver what's been achieved in the consulting team. Now, when we started, a lot of you will know us for optimization. It's kind of what we stand for, and then doing simulation around that. And over the 20 years, what we've done in composites has grown and grown in the optimization, the analysis. A bit more I'll show you in a moment. But more recently, probably the last 4 or 5 years, I'd say we've also expanded a lot more into CFD. And that's not just aeroflow. Looking at EVs, a lot of it is thermal flow, heat transfer, a lot of it is internal airflow and so on. And that's been quite interesting to see that growth in the business. So it's becoming more of a set. And there's all these other bits as well we do that I wouldn't say stand out as major parts of the business, but they're really helpful in terms of what we can achieve. So I've blatantly taken the next 2 slides from Oliver's presentation for services, but they're quite interesting. I quite like them. And they're just looking at some of the services that we do at GRM that people maybe don't know about. Some will, some won't. First of all, GRM is the only UK supplier of simulation services that can certify roll cages and ROP systems. That's approved by both Motorsport UK and more recently the FIA. Stemming from a little bit of how could we make a methodology that could do this as a bit of research, we now have become the de facto provider of vision assessment for Transport for London. So we can assess if you're driving along, where are the blind spots, where is it safe, and what are the standards for it. And again, that's one of those crossovers between software and services where Lawrence, well, I can't spot him at the moment, but he'll be in here. And Lawrence just said, I can do that. And it's become a nice process. Other things that have been around for quite a while at GRM, but still become quite established key parts of the business are our blast simulation services, which are really strong. It was, I think, back in 2010, so I said, you can't do that. I said, yes, you can. So we had to work out how to solve it, and we did. And that's a really strong part of the business. And you'll see in one of the presentations from Dave Johnson at BR Technology today, that technology that allowed us to do the blast simulation has actually moved into marine, into wave slam, and that technology crosses over, as often does with simulation. And then lastly, our little fairly modest test lab downstairs is great because if we want to learn about structure, some materials, then we go and bend it and break it and test it. And it's the CEA engineers in our team that are actually doing that. So they get that hands-on feeling, which as we do more and more work by simulation, just having that sort of hands-on experience is invaluable. So next slide, all it there. All of it informs me this is a metal matrix composite. Is that right? Landing gear component that was optimized in sort of 3D material orientations for landing gear and came out lighter than the titanium equivalent. And that's just a sort of, not just the normal topology, not just the, don't say normal composite optimization, because it's actually still quite a clever thing for what we do. These next two are then just sort of delving into some of the more specialist areas. So it's not very well known, but we're the only providers of a rail-safe dummy simulation model. So if you want to do simulation to match your crash testing, we're the only one that developed that and can provide it. And similarly, I don't really know how we got to doing this, but we've ended up being retained by British Standards and TRL to approve simulations on roadside barriers to the standards you can see there. And then lastly, something that I think quite a few of you know we're able to do is composite analysis, particularly developing into areas such as composite crashworthiness. We've done a few vehicle programs now, and I think we know what we're doing with that, which is always dangerous to say, but I will be brave and say it. All right, that's enough about Oliver and services. On to software. And I've got a few slides here just to give a bit of background about what we do. And this is our standard slide of the products that we sell. So if you go, what products does GRM sell for software? This is it. So we've got a mix of products that are developed by OmniQuest, formerly Vanderplatz, over in the US. And John is somewhere with us, I believe, in the audience. There he is. So you can much catch up with John today if you're talking about optimization software. And so they provide the Iliad and Genesis software tool that a lot of you are using. And then the rest of the tools are all those built around the Genesis platform, and they're the ones that we've developed at GRM for the last 20 years. But it doesn't stop. And I guess what I just wanted to elaborate on is that, yes, we've got this composite lemma optimization. Yes, we do topology. We've got RDM. But we're continuing with research activities, and sometimes they go into great products. Sometimes we just take stock of what we've developed, and it will then see its way into a future product in years to come. And these are just three of the more recent ones that we've developed. So first of all, we've got real-time response, which I know some of you are using. And it's basically a step between the crazy world of optimization and doing analysis. So it's working out how can I explore a design pretty much for free computing time. Just what happens if I change a ply? What happens if I change the thickness? I can see what's happening. The Edison co-simulation is something I won't elaborate much on here. There's a good presentation from Hexagon later this morning. But this is looking at managing gear design and gear misalignments issues through optimizing the housings of transmission. So it's coupled optimization. And then the most recent thing we've just released is RDM Dyna, which is kind of extending probably one of our most well-used aspect optimization, which is RDM, which is where we can optimize and guide the design using optimization to develop and iterate structures. And that's now been rolled out into the world of Dyna. Next thing is I think most people know us for OptiAssist, if you're in the software side of things, particularly in composites. And when I stood here 5 years ago, it was OptiAssist. That was it. There wasn't for anything. And so the one that was OptiAssist is now called for Genesis. And we've expanded that out to Abacus and to SimCenter as well. And that's just showing integration. I know the Abacus one is one that for a long time, probably over a decade, our customers said, can we have that for Abacus, please? Can we have that for Abacus, please? So that was a really good one for us to be able to release. And I'm pleased it's out there. But OptiAssist has gone beyond just optimization as well now. And one of the areas where we're developing at quite a pace is our manufacturing simulation. So we keep continuing to develop our draping tools, and that's looking at the manufacturing feasibility of prepregs and fiber placement, then taking that and communicating that into ply books and calculating the flat patterns and exporting those to cutting machines ready to go. So it's that overall process from starting with your surface right through to releasing to production, and that's where OptiAssist now goes. And then the last one, again, I won't say much about this one because Maddie, who's sitting at the front, is going to do a great presentation at the end of the day. Last speaker slot, Maddie. Excellent. So you must stay around for this one. But this is really quite interesting because this is looking at developing solutions for 3D printed designs, which are just continuing to grow. And our particular area of interest that's come out of this has been looking to improve the predictive capability of simulation for 3D printed parts. And that's turned out to be trickier than we thought, perhaps. But there's a process that is going to be making that available very soon as the conclusion of that particular research project. Right. Changing subjects completely, because I wanted to just say things that maybe you didn't know about GRM, so I shall carry on my little sidestep to something else. And that's a bit about sustainability. And when I talk about this, it's quite important. I don't want to do it to sort of blow our own trumpet and say, look what we're doing. It's a very buzzy thing to do. What I really want to do is just talk about it, because it's something I feel quite strongly about. We should be making an effort, and it becomes fashionable for a year, then it goes away again. So we made a decision in 2021 to sign something called the Climate Pledge. Some of you may know what it is, some may not, but it's basically a pledge organised by Amazon to try to become fully carbon neutral by 2040, which is sort of 10 years ahead of where all the governments have said, yes, we'll do it by. So it's a little challenge to see what we can do. And already it's learning to be a lot harder than you think. But there's a few things we've done so far, and it's something we are carrying on doing. So first of all, we put a new roof on our building, which was very noisy for the poor people trying to do analysis. So sorry, team. It was really bloody noisy, wasn't it? Yeah. But that was done. So to insulate the building and to prep the roof for that, which is 81 solar panels sitting on the roof generating 33 kilowatts of solar energy. And that's something that on a nice sunny day now overproduces well above what we need. And so when it's not so sunny, which it does happen in Britain that it's perhaps not so sunny, we're still producing reasonable energy. And so over the course of a year, if all goes to plan, and we are tracking this as part of our plans, we look to produce about 84% of the net requirements for electricity at GRM. So, as I say, it's all about talking about this, and you'll see presentations today, some of the major car manufacturers, that they have a lot more influence than we do, that's for sure, but just making those steps. Right then, on to another step of news, which is so dramatic, we're changing slide templates. And as of about, exactly, as of about 3 weeks ago, GRM were purchased by Solid Solutions, and we go onwards into a very exciting new journey as a business. So those of you who, well, quite a few of you will probably know who Solid Solutions are. If you're using SolidWorks in the UK, you're pretty much certain to, because they sell it to about 80% of all the people in the UK. But they're a SolidWorks reseller in the UK and also a Dassault reseller. So they're working in CATIA, in Ovia, and Simulia Abacus, and so on. So we've joined them as a group, and it's quite an exciting group as it is. So they themselves are part of a bigger group called Trimec, and as you can see inside Solid Solutions, there's GRM. I like the fact that this slide has us on the top. Brilliant. It's definitely staying there. And you'll see there are various other companies in there. So Solid Print, for example, they provide 3D printers and hardware and consumables for 3D printers. 3D Print UK is a print service company, and then there's various other resellers. So there's this world of design and 3D printing that's in there. And then over in the US, as part of the wider Trimec group, there is Javelin, who are a services provider like ourselves, and they work, and then there's the various other providers in group. The big question is, we've told, because some of you in the audience know this, we've had discussions already, I'm going, what does that mean? Does that mean GRM is not going to be GRM anymore? And no, GRM remains GRM as a business. We're part of this group. We've just kind of got more that we can do. So I'm really quite excited. I know Oliver's very excited about this and where it takes us. If we just take a look at services and software, the two parts of GRM, where is it now? So the existing services remain unchanged. Oliver is engineering director. I'm still managing director, just to confirm that point if it's not clear. But as a team, we've got wider access now to more resources. We've got design resources, more simulation resources, 3D print, and so on. So this wider net of things we can provide to customers. On the software, big question is, are you still selling Genesis? Yes, we are. This is very much part of our business. It's been part of our business for 20 years, composite laminate optimization. It will continue to be that way. But there's already some nice complementary crossovers. Long before this was a sort of a twinkle of an idea, we were doing OptiSys for Abacus. Our customers wanted it, and we got there in the end. It took a while, but we got there. So having that access now to a bigger group that is driven by using Abacus as well is going to be really beneficial, I think, for everybody. And there's some numbers there about lots of resource, which is good. So if you've got big projects, just cool.